The rich aroma filled my kitchen as I poured the dark, steaming liquid into my favorite mug. That first sip of coffee, bitter yet comforting, had been my morning ritual for over a decade. Like 64% of Americans, I was completely dependent on this daily dose of caffeine. The relationship was non-negotiable. If I didn't have my morning cup, a throbbing headache would grip my temples by noon, crushing my productivity and turning me into an irritable shadow of myself. I couldn't imagine starting a day without it. The mere thought seemed impossible, almost sacrilegious. Yet, I was about to attempt exactly that. A full 7 days without a single drop of coffee. As I stared at my final cup, I couldn't help but wonder what I'd gotten myself into. My relationship with coffee wasn't just habitual, it was deeply emotional. It represented comfort, productivity, and the promise of energy in a chronically sleep-deprived world. What would happen to my body and mind when I removed this chemical crutch I'd leaned on for years? The research I'd been reading painted a complex picture of what awaited me. Scientists at Johns Hopkins University have found that caffeine, the world's most widely consumed psychoactive substance, doesn't actually give you energy. The revelation hit me like a cold shower. Coffee merely blocks adenosine, the neurotransmitter responsible for making you feel tired. It doesn't provide energy, it simply masks fatigue. Even more disturbing, research published in the American Journal of Psychiatry suggests that regular caffeine consumption fundamentally alters your brain chemistry, changing the density of adenosine receptors and creating a physiological dependence almost identical to other addictive substances. The average American coffee drinker consumes 3. 1 cups daily, ingesting about 300 milliliters of caffeine, the equivalent of taking 3 prescription-strength stimulant pills every single day. Would you take a powerful stimulant drug 3 times daily for years without questioning its effects? Yet most of us do exactly that with coffee, never pausing to consider what this daily chemical alteration is doing to our bodies and minds in the long term. The first signs of trouble appear in your sleep architecture. Dr. Matthew Walker, neuroscientist and sleep researcher at UC Berkeley, has documented how caffeine, even when consumed 6 hours before bedtime, reduces deep sleep by up to 20%. That morning cup at 8 a.m. is still actively disrupting your sleep quality at 2 a.m., even if you don't realize it. The implications are staggering: decades of compromised sleep due to a socially acceptable drug habit. But sleep disruption is just the beginning. The health consequences extend much further. Researchers at Harvard Medical School found that regular caffeine consumption increases cortisol production, essentially placing your body in a low-grade stress response throughout the day. This chronic elevation of stress hormones is linked to everything from weight gain around the midsection to impaired immune function and accelerated aging. The most disturbing part? These effects occur even in people who subjectively report feeling just fine on caffeine. My own relationship with coffee had evolved from occasional enjoyment to physiological dependency. What began as a pleasurable ritual had morphed into a requirement for basic functioning. I wasn't drinking coffee because I wanted to, I was drinking it because I had to. The headaches that came with skipping even a single day were my body's way of demanding its fix. This realization was uncomfortable. Was I making a free choice each morning, or was I satisfying an addiction? The research also pointed to something equally concerning: caffeine's powerful impact on mood regulation. A longitudinal study tracking coffee drinkers over 5 years found that regular consumption creates artificial peaks and valleys in emotional stability. The morning high gives way to an afternoon crash, creating a roller coaster of mood fluctuations. Over time, this pattern can masquerade as anxiety or mood disorders, when in reality, it's a pharmacological effect. I wondered how much of my own occasional irritability or afternoon energy crashes were actually withdrawal symptoms rather than my natural emotional state. What's even more concerning is coffee's impact on nutrient absorption. Caffeine interferes with your body's ability to absorb several crucial nutrients, including iron, calcium, and B vitamins. This effect is so significant that women who consume more than 2 cups of coffee daily show measurably lower bone density over time. The acidity of coffee also impacts gut health, altering the microbiome, potentially contributing to digestive issues that millions simply accept as normal. As I prepared for my 7-day experiment, a question kept circling in my mind: who would I be without coffee? Had this daily chemical companion been subtly altering my personality, energy patterns, and emotional landscape all these years? The only way to find out was to remove it completely and document what happened. The withdrawal symptoms I'd experience would reveal just how deeply the substance had embedded itself into my physiology. The research warned me about what to expect. Headaches usually beginning 12-24 hours after the last caffeine dose, peaking around day 2 or 3 with potential irritability, fatigue, and even depressed mood. Some people report brain fog so severe they can't perform basic cognitive tasks. Others experience muscle pain, nausea, and even flu-like symptoms. The fact that removing a socially acceptable beverage could cause such profound physical and mental effects speaks volumes about its power. Day 1 without coffee dawned with anticipation rather than dread. I'd planned ahead, choosing to begin my experiment on a Saturday when productivity demands would be lower. The first few hours were surprisingly uneventful. I replaced my morning ritual with hot lemon water and waited for the storm of withdrawal symptoms to hit. By early afternoon, a dull pressure began building behind my eyes. Not yet painful, but a warning of what was coming. Remarkably, my energy levels remained stable throughout the morning, something I hadn't expected. Had I been overestimating coffee's influence on my productivity? Day 2 told a different story. I woke with a headache so intense it felt like my skull was in a vice grip. This wasn't just discomfort, it was debilitating pain that made focusing on simple tasks nearly impossible. Neurologists explain that this happens because caffeine causes blood vessels in the brain to constrict. When you remove it, those vessels suddenly dilate, causing increased blood flow and intense pressure. My body was literally rebelling against the absence of a chemical it had come to expect. More telling than the physical pain was my irritability. Minor inconveniences that would normally roll off my back now seemed monumentally frustrating. Was this my natural temperament without the chemical buffer of caffeine, or just withdrawal? By the afternoon of day 2, I made a crucial discovery. Hydration dramatically reduced the headache intensity. Research from the University of Connecticut's Human Performance Laboratory explains why caffeine is a powerful diuretic that chronically dehydrates regular users. When you remove coffee, your body begins to rehydrate, creating a temporary electrolyte imbalance that exacerbates withdrawal symptoms. I increased my water intake to a gallon daily and supplemented with electrolytes. The difference was noticeable within hours. Day 3 brought an unexpected challenge: bowel irregularity. It turns out that coffee stimulates peristalsis, the contractions that move food through your digestive tract. Without this daily stimulant, my digestive system seemed confused. Gastroenterologists from the Mayo Clinic confirm this is one of the most common yet least discussed withdrawal effects. The solution came through adding more fiber-rich foods and light morning movement, which naturally stimulated the digestive process coffee had been artificially triggering for years. By day 4, something remarkable happened. The fog began to lift. Not only were the headaches subsiding, but I experienced what addiction specialists call the clarity window, the first glimpse of how your body and mind function in their natural state without an addictive substance. My energy no longer arrived in crashing waves followed by desperate troughs. Instead, I noticed a steadier, more sustained alertness throughout the day. Most surprising was the quality of this energy. It felt fundamentally different. Cleaner somehow, without the jittery edge that caffeine provides. Sleep transformation was the most unexpected benefit. On night 4, I fell asleep within minutes of my head hitting the pillow, a stark contrast to my usual 30-45 minute wind down. But the quality of sleep was what truly shocked me. I woke remembering vivid dreams for the first time in years, a sign of increased REM sleep that caffeine typically suppresses. Sleep scientists from Stanford's Center for Sleep Sciences explain that caffeine has a half-life of 5 to 7 hours, meaning that cup at 2 p.m. is still actively disrupting your sleep architecture at midnight. Without this chemical interference, my brain was finally experiencing complete sleep cycles. Day 5 revealed something I hadn't anticipated. My anxiety levels plummeted. As someone who had occasionally struggled with persistent worry and racing thoughts, I'd never connected these experiences to my coffee consumption. Yet, research published in the Journal of Psychopharmacology shows that caffeine consumption mimics anxiety disorders so precisely that it's a required screening question when diagnosing anxiety. The constant activation of your sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight response, from regular caffeine use creates a background hum of physiological stress that many misinterpret as normal. Speaking directly to you, watching this right now, have you ever wondered if what you perceive as your normal state of mind is actually being chemically altered each day? How much of your personality, your energy patterns, your emotional responses, your stress levels might be influenced by this powerful psychoactive compound you consume daily? I'm not suggesting everyone should quit coffee, but what if just for 1 week you could see who you are without it? What might you discover about yourself? If you're finding value in this exploration of how everyday substances affect your health and well-being, consider subscribing to this channel. Unlike surface-level health content, we dive deep into the science of how your daily choices reshape your biology in ways you might never have considered. The comment section below is open for your experiences. Have you ever tried eliminating caffeine? What changes did you notice? Your story might be exactly what another viewer needs to hear to begin their own experiment. By day 6, I made another unexpected discovery about coffee's impact on my hunger patterns. Without caffeine suppressing my appetite, I became more attuned to genuine hunger signals. Research from Cornell University's Food and Brand Lab demonstrates how caffeine disrupts normal hunger hormones like ghrelin and leptin, potentially contributing to erratic eating patterns and cravings. I found myself naturally gravitating toward a more consistent eating schedule with fewer intense hunger spikes and crashes. The final revelation came on day 7 when I found myself spontaneously waking before my alarm, feeling genuinely refreshed. The cobwebs that typically clouded my first waking hour were notably absent. A study from Brigham and Women's Hospital offers an explanation. Caffeine consumption shifts your entire circadian rhythm, potentially putting your body's internal clock at odds with the actual time of day. Without this chemical interference, my body was synchronizing with natural light cycles for perhaps the first time in years. The emotional benefits were equally striking. The stable mood I experienced wasn't a flat, emotionless state, rather it was a more balanced emotional landscape without the artificially induced highs and subsequent crashes caffeine creates. Neurochemically, this makes perfect sense. Caffeine triggers dopamine release, similar to amphetamines, though at a lower intensity. Removing this external dopamine trigger allows your brain's natural reward systems to recalibrate. What began as a week-long experiment revealed something profound. The version of me without coffee was noticeably different from the chemically altered state I'd accepted as normal for years. My energy was more sustainable, my sleep more restorative, my digestion more regular, and perhaps, most surprisingly, my mood more stable. The artificial peaks and valleys had smoothed into a more natural rhythm that felt fundamentally healthier. Does this mean I'll never drink coffee again? Not necessarily, but my relationship with it has fundamentally changed. What was once a non-negotiable daily necessity has transformed into an occasional choice. One I can make with full awareness of the trade-offs involved, rather than from a place of dependency or habit. Sometimes, the most powerful discoveries about our health don't come from adding sophisticated supplements or following complicated protocols, but simply from removing what we've never questioned and observing what happens. What might you discover if you tried a similar experiment with a substance you consume daily without question? The answer might surprise you, revealing aspects of your natural physiology and psychology that have been masked for years by chemical influence. The journey to optimal health often begins not with what we need to add, but with what we might benefit from removing, even temporarily, to glimpse our natural state.